The desert stretched endlessly under the fading glow of dusk. The sky was bruised purple, bleeding into black, and Route 66 lay quiet except for the hum of Jason's car. For friends Jason, Emma, Mark, and Rebecca were supposed to be chasing freedom, a road trip adventure that would take them across forgotten highways and ghost towns. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, their GPS flickered and the fuel gauge sank dangerously low. The road grew lonelier, the desert swallowing sound. "That's it," Mark muttered from the back seat, rubbing his eyes. "We're screwed." "No," Jason said, gripping the wheel tighter. "There's always something on Route 66. A diner, a station, a motel." As if answering him, neon lights suddenly bled through the darkness ahead. A sign buzzed faintly, sputtering, but still visible. Motel vacancy. Relief washed over them. The building appeared like a shadow rising from the desert. A squat, aging roadside motel with peeling paint, flickering lights, and a parking lot cracked like old skin. The place looked abandoned at first, silent. Dead, but the neon vacancy sign pulsed like a heart, insisting it was alive. "This is creepy," Emma whispered, staring out the window. "Like horror movie creepy?" Jason forced a laugh. "We don't have a choice. We'll just crash for the night." They pulled in. The gravel crunched under their tires. No other cars sat in the lot. The air smelled faintly metallic, sharp like rust or blood. Inside, the lobby was dim, lit by a single buzzing bulb. A desk bell sat on the counter, polished as if someone had just touched it. Behind the desk, an old ledger lay open, its pages filled with names written in faded ink. "Hello?" Jason called Dot at first. Silence. Then, from the shadows behind the counter, a woman emerged. She was tall, thin, her skin pale in the weak light. Her eyes didn't quite meet theirs, as though she was looking slightly through them. "Welcome," she said softly. Checking in, her voice was flat, dry, but polite. Jason cleared his throat. "We just need a room for the night." She slid the ledger forward. "Sign your names." Something in her tone made Rebecca hesitate. The book looked old, older than the motel itself. Each page yellowed, the ink smeared in strange patterns. But Jason didn't hesitate. He scrawled his name, then handed the pen to Emma, who reluctantly signed. Mark and Rebecca followed, their signatures shaky. The woman smiled faintly. Room 6. She placed an old brass key on the counter. Her fingers were long, too long, nails sharp against the key's surface. "Thanks," Jason muttered, picking it up. They walked down the hallway. The carpet was damp under their shoes, smelling faintly of mold. The wallpaper peeled in long strips, and each door they passed had scratches around the knob, like something had clawed to get out. Room 6 was worse. The air inside was thick, heavy, smelling faintly of copper. The wallpaper was stained, the carpet darker in patches that looked almost wet. "This place is disgusting," Rebecca muttered, covering her nose. But exhaustion weighed on them all. They dropped their bags and sat on the creaky beds. The springs groaned under their weight. Emma rubbed her arms, shivering despite the heat. "Do you hear that?" she whispered Dot. They all froze. From somewhere inside the walls came a faint sound, a dragging, scratching noise, like nails on wood. "Probably rats," Jason said quickly, though his voice lacked conviction. They tried to settle in, but the sound grew louder, closer, scratching, dragging, then whispering, faint at first, then clearer. Words they couldn't fully make out, but one repeated again and again. Blood, blood, blood. Emma clutched Jason's arm. That wasn't rats. The whispering filled the room, pressing against them from every wall. The lights flickered, then went out entirely. For a heartbeat, the room was drowned in black. Then the lamp beside the bed buzzed back to life, casting a weak yellow glow. The bed across from them was occupied. At first, they thought it was a trick of the light, but no. A shape lay under the sheets. A body, thin and motionless. The blanket pulled to its chest. Jesus Christ, Mark gasped, stumbling back. Jason slowly reached forward, hand trembling, and pulled the blanket back. The thing beneath wasn't a body, it was several arms sewn together, torsos stitched at grotesque angles, patches of skin mismatched, pale, bruised, and raw. Its face sore. What passed for a face was a patchwork of features crudely attached, lips stapled together, eyes sewn shut. Blood seeped fresh from its seams as though the stitching had been done only moments before. Emma gagged, covering her mouth. Rebecca screamed. And then its chest rose. The thing breathed. The lights cut out again. Darkness swallowed them whole. The darkness was suffocating, thick like tar. Emma's scream cut through the black, but it was swallowed almost immediately, as if the walls themselves drank the sound. Jason fumbled for his phone, the tiny glow of the screen casting a pale blue light. The stitched figure on the bed was gone. Only the dark imprint on the sheets remained wet, sticky, glistening faintly. A foul smell spread through the room, a mixture of rot and fresh coppery blood. "What the hell is happening?" Rebecca whispered, her voice trembling. The whispering returned, closer now. The voices weren't inside the walls anymore. They were in the room, dozens of them. Men, women, children all, repeating their names over and over, as if trying to be remembered. And then one voice broke through them all. "Jason?" He froze, the phone shaking in his hand. "Jason, give us blood." The shadows in the room thickened, taking form. Hands, long and twisted, reaching from the corners, blacker than the dark itself. The fingers stretched toward him, toward Emma, toward them all. Mark swung wildly with a lamp, smashing it into the wall. The bulb shattered, plunging them back into blackness. For a moment, the voices stopped, but then came the knock. It was faint at first, a single knock on the door, then another, then pounding, faster, harder, shaking the frame. "Who's there?" Jason shouted, his voice breaking. No answer, just the pounding. Emma clutched his arm. "Don't open it. Please, don't open it." But the door creaked, the handle slowly turning by itself. The air grew colder, the smell of blood sharper, heavier. The door burst open. The hallway outside was filled with bodies. Not alive, not dead, something in between. Their skin was gray, their eyes empty, their mouths torn open into silent screams. Some had nails driven through their arms, others had rope burns on their necks. They were corpses, but they were moving, stumbling forward, dragging themselves across the carpet with jerking, unnatural motions. Rebecca screamed again, backing against the wall. "We have to get out." Jason grabbed Emma's hand, pulling her toward the window. He smashed it with a chair, shards raining down onto the gravel outside. The air beyond was thick and cold, the night heavier than it had any right to be. One by one, they scrambled through. Rebecca cut her arm on the glass, blood streaking down her skin, but there was no time to stop. The corpses were crawling into the room now, hands clawing at the air, jaws snapping open and shut with the sound of breaking bone. They landed hard on the gravel outside, knees scraping raw. Jason pulled them all up. But the lot wasn't empty anymore. The motel parking lot was now filled with cars, hundreds of them, rusted, burned, broken down, all with doors hanging open, windows shattered, seats stained dark, the smell of gasoline and rot mixed together. License plates from all over the country gleamed faintly in the moonlight. "These weren't here before," Mark muttered, shaking his head. "They never left," Emma whispered. The neon vacancy sign above flickered, then burst into sparks. For a moment, the whole motel lit up. Every window glowed red, and behind each one stood a shadow, staring down at them. Then the whispering began again. Blood, 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 blood. The corpses poured out through the broken window, tumbling onto the gravel, their movements jerky but fast. Jason shoved Rebecca forward, and they all sprinted toward the car. The crunch of the gravel under their feet mixed with the dragging, stumbling pursuit behind them. Jason fumbled with the keys, hands slick with sweat. He shoved them into the ignition. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. "Go, go, go!" Rebecca screamed. He slammed the gas, the tires spinning on the gravel before catching. The car shot forward, nearly clipping one of the corpses as it lurched into their path. The headlights cut through the dark, but what they revealed was worse. The road out was gone. In its place was endless desert, flat and featureless. No Route 66, no highway, no signs. Just sand stretching forever, shimmering faintly in the moonlight. Jason cursed, turning the wheel sharply, driving in the opposite direction. But it was the same desert, stretching on without end. The motel stayed in view. No matter how far they drove, it loomed behind them, glowing faintly, its sign pulsing like a beacon. Emma clutched his arm. "We're not leaving. We can't leave." The corpses weren't chasing them anymore. They didn't have to. The motel itself was alive, the desert bending to its will, holding them in place. Jason drove until the fuel gauge dropped to empty. The car sputtered, coughed, and died. Silence fell inside the vehicle, broken only by the sound of their ragged breathing. Then came the knock again. This time, it was on the car windows. The corpses surrounded them, faces pressed against the glass, their skin split as they grinned. Teeth too many, too sharp, gleaming under the moonlight. Fingers smeared blood across the windshield. Jason locked the doors, but he knew it wouldn't matter. The corpses didn't need to break in. They wanted him to... Jason, the voices whispered again. "Give us blood." Rebecca broke first. Sobbing, shaking, she grabbed at the door handle. I can't, don't," Jason shouted, pulling her back. But the corpses had patience. They began to tap against the glass in unison. First, softly, then louder, then pounding, rattling the whole car. Their mouths opened wider, black liquid pouring out. And then, from the motel, the neon sign lit again, burning brighter, flooding the desert with red dot in the glow. Jason saw them clearly. Every corpse was smiling. The desert went silent. The corpses stopped pounding, stopped moving, their faces still pressed against the car windows. Jason held his breath, his heart hammering in his chest. For a moment, it felt like time had frozen. Then the world shifted. The desert dissolved like smoke, peeling away to reveal cracked asphalt beneath the tires. The car wasn't in the wasteland anymore. It was parked right back in the motel lot. The motel stood tall in front of them, glowing with a sick red light. Every window burned like fire. The air smelled of scorched wood and blood, thick enough to choke on. Rebecca whipped. We never left. We never left. Jason gritted his teeth. Then we burned this place down. If it wants blood, it's not gonna get ours. He shoved the car door open, forcing the corpses back. They crumbled like ash at his touch, scattering into the wind. Emma followed, clutching his arm, while Mark dragged Rebecca out. The motel's front doors yawned open as if waiting. They stepped inside. The lobby had changed. The walls dripped. Thick streams of dark red slid down the wallpaper, soaking the carpet. The smell was unbearable, metallic and sour, like an open grave. The light above flickered, dripping bulbs swinging from the ceiling. A sound rose up beneath the dripping, whispering, hundreds of voices layered on top of one another, all repeating the same word. Blood. Mark covered his mouth, gagging. Jesus Christ, the walls are bleeding. Emma cut him off. No, it's not the walls. Jason turned. She was right. The shadows on the walls were moving, shifting, writhing like living things. They weren't shaped like the group. They were taller, sharper, wrong. Fingers too long. Heads twisted at odd angles. Spines bent backwards. The shadows reached out, stretching across the blood-stained wallpaper. One of them whispered louder than the rest. Jason, it was the same voice as before. Deep, broken, wet, the shadow detached itself from the wall, peeling forward like smoke. It rose taller, filling the ceiling, its arms splitting into multiple limbs. Its phasor, what passed for one was nothing, but a jagged slit stretching across its head, dripping black liquid. Jason froze, rooted to the floor. The slit mouth opened. The voice that came out shook the walls. You brought them here. Now give them to us. Give us blood. The walls shuddered violently, streams of blood shooting out like fountains. The carpet turned slick, soaking their shoes. Rebecca slipped, hitting the ground with a scream, her hands splashing into the red. The shadows moved closer, bending toward her. Fingers stretched, curl in around her wrists, pull in. She thrashed, kicking, her screams echoing through the lobby. Jason grabbed her arm, yanking her free. His hands were slick, sliding against her blood-covered skin, but he pulled harder. Run! They bolted down the hall, the shadows sliding along the walls behind them, never losing pace. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices demanding blood. Doors slammed open as they ran, each room revealed horrors in flashes. One room was filled with bodies hanging from the ceiling, their faces swollen, their eyes bulging. Another had a family seated at a dinner table, skeletons dressed in rotting clothes, heads still bowed as if waiting for grace. Another was nothing but mirrors, and in every reflection, Jason saw himself covered in blood, a knife in his hand, smiling. They stumbled into a stairwell. The stench of rot thicker here. The walls were coated in handprints, bloody smears from people who had clawed desperately, trying to escape. Rebecca was sobbing uncontrollably. We're not supposed to leave. It doesn't let anyone leave. Shut up. Jason snapped, though his own voice shook. The shadows followed, slithering down the stairwell, reaching for them with stretching fingers. One caught Mark's leg, yanking him off balance. He slammed against the steps, screaming as it dragged him down. Jason lunged, grabbing his arm. The shadow's touch burned, searing Mark's skin black where it held him. His flesh bubbled, smoke rising. Jason pulled with everything he had, tearing Mark free. His friend's leg was charred, the skin cracked and bleeding, but he was alive. For now. They burst into the basement. It was colder here, impossibly cold. Their breath came out in mist hanging in the air like smoke. The floor was concrete, but slick with blood, puddles reflecting the flickering light overhead. And in the center of the room stood a chair. A single wooden chair, bound with leather strap. Around it were buckets, all filled to the brim with blood. Some fresh, some old and congealed, swarming with flies. The shadows lined the walls, circling, dozens of them, all shifting, whispering in unison. Sit, sit, sit. Jason shook his head. No, we're not playing this game. But Emma stepped forward. Her eyes were wide, her face pale. Jason! Look at the walls! He turned. Names were carved into the concrete, thousands of them, etched deep, dates beside each one. The names stretched across every surface, covering the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. Generations of people. Every one of them had sat in that chair, and every one of them had bled. Rebecca fell to her knees, trembling. It never ends. It just takes more. It always takes more. The largest shadow pulled itself from the wall, looming over them. Its slit mouth opened again, dripping black fluid onto the floor. Sit, bleed, or they all die. The whispering surged, filling the room until it felt like the air itself vibrated with it. The buckets rattled, blood sloshing over the edges, running across the floor in streams. That the shadows advanced, closing in, their limbs stretching, reaching, curling around their arms and throats. Jason's heart pounded. His friends were screaming, thrashing against the shadows, but it didn't matter. The chair waited. The motel demanded its sacrifice. Jason's lungs burned. The shadow's hands closed around his throat, cold and wet like they were made of rotting flesh. He thrashed, choking, vision flickering. But the pressure only grew tighter. The chair loomed closer, dragged toward him by invisible force. The leather straps twitched, waiting. Jason, Emma's scream tore through the whispers. She was pinned against the wall, her arms stretched at unnatural angles, blood dripping from her fingertips where the shadows dug in. Mark was on the ground, convulsing as one shadow's hand pressed into his chest, sinking through his skin like liquid. Rebecca lay, sobbing, blood soaking her clothes, whispering prayers that went unanswered. The largest shadow's voice thundered, again, splitting Jason's skull. Sit, bleed, or they all die. Jason's knees buckled. The air reeked of rust and rot, thick enough to choke. He stared at the chair. For one horrifying second, he imagined himself there strapped down, bleeding into the buckets until he was nothing but another name carved into the walls. He gritted his teeth. No, the shadows screeched, the sound sharp and metallic, like tearing steel. They dragged him forward, his boots scraping across the bloody floor. He clawed at the ground, leaving streaks in the red. The chair's leather straps reached for him, curling like snakes, wrapping around his arms and legs. He fought. Jason ripped free, stumbling, grabbing one of the boots. With a roar, he hurled it at the nearest shadow. Blood splattered across the floor, sizzling like acid. The shadow shrieked, dissolving into smoke. Jason's chest heaved. You want blood? Take your own. He grabbed another bucket, throwing it against the walls. The blood splashed onto the carved names, and for the first time, the whispers, the names seemed to writhe, twisting, the letters bleeding, fresh red as though newly cut. The largest shadow bellowed. You cannot break the cycle. Jason snatched a shard of broken glass from the floor, its edge slick with blood. He raised it to his palm. Then I'll end it my way. Emma screamed. Don't. He slashed his hand open, blood spilling. He smeared it across the carved names on the wall. The room trembled violently, the concrete groaning, cracks splitting down from the ceiling. The shadows shrieked, writhing, their bodies twisting, tearing themselves apart. The buckets overturned, blood rushing across the floor like a tidal wave. The chair cracked, its straps snapping, bursting into flames of black fire. The largest shadow lunged, wrapping around Jason like a cloak, trying to choke the life from him. Its voice filled his skull. You belong to US, Jason screamed back, shoving his bloodied hand into the shadow's slit. The black fluid sizzled, the shadow convulsing violently. It let out a final, ear-splitting wail, then burst into fragments of smoke, scattering into nothing. The room collapsed. The ceiling crashed down, the walls buckling. Emma broke free, dragging Rebecca to her feet. Mark stumbled, coughing blood, his face pale. Jason grabbed them all, shoving them to the stairs. They ran. The motel was crumbling around them, every hallway shaking, doors slamming, walls bleeding rivers of red. The lobby chandelier fell, shattering into razor sharp. The floorboards snapped like bones beneath their feet. Behind them, the shadows screamed, clawing out of the collapsing walls. Faster, Jason bellowed, dragging Rebecca through the front doors. They burst into the night. The parking lot was empty, the car gone. The desert stretched out forever in every direction. The sky boiling crimson, the motel groaned, its roof caving in, but instead of collapsing into rubble, it folded inward, shrinking, twisting like flesh. The neon sign flickered one last time before the whole building was sucked into the earth, leaving behind a gaping pit oozing with blood. Silence. Only the desert wind remained. Rebecca dropped to her knees. Sobbing uncontrollably, Emma hugged her tightly. Though her own face was pale and hollow, Mark fell against the dirt, coughing, his charred leg twitching. Jason stood frozen, his bloodied hand trembling. The whispers were gone. The shadows were gone. But the silence felt wrong, too heavy. He turned. The pit where the motel had stood was still bleeding. Thick streams of red bubbled upward, forming shapes. Letters. Carved in fresh blood across the dirt. Their names: Jason's breath caught. Rebecca. Mark. Emma. Jason. The last word dripped slower, heavier. Jason. Rebecca. It rode us down. Oh God, it rode us down. The earth trembled. The pit widened. Blood surging upward. Shapes began to crawl out, twisted forms of the victims from the walls. Their bodies bent and broken, eyes black pits. They dragged themselves toward the group, moaning, dripping with rot. Jason grabbed a jagged piece of wood from the ground. Run? They staggered into the desert, the creatures following, dozens of them, then hundreds. The horizon burned crimson, offering no escape. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time was broken here. The group stumbled endlessly, the creatures always behind them, never tiring. Rebecca collapsed. I can't anymore. Jason dragged her up, but her body felt limp, hollow. Her eyes were glassy, her lips whispering the word over and over. Blood, blood, blood. Her skin split, blood poured from her mouth, her eyes, her pores. She screamed as her body dissolved into a pool of red, sucked into the desert floor. Emma screamed, covering her mouth. Mark fell to his knees, sobbing. Jason's stomach twisted. No, we can't stop. We keep moving. Mark froze mid. His chest ripped open, blood pouring out. His body folded inward, bones snapping, skin tearing, until he was nothing but another shadow standing in the desert. His eyes were empty. Jason, it whispered. Emma clutched Jason's arm, shaking violently. It's gonna take us. Jason grabbed her face, forcing her to look at him. I won't let it. Do you hear me? I won't. But Emma gasped, her skin pale, her veins black. She clawed at her own throat, gagging, blood spilling from her mouth. She collapsed in his arms, her body twitching before dissolving into a puddle of red. Jason screamed, holding her, shaking her, begging, but she was gone. Silence fell again. He was alone. The creatures circled him, dozens of shadows whispering his name. The pit behind them bubbled louder, spewing rivers of blood across the desert floor. The horizon vanished, swallowed by endless red. Jason dropped to his knees, blood dripping from his hand. His reflection shimmered in the river of red, but it wasn't his face, it was him. Blood dripping from his mouth, knife in his hand. The reflection spoke. The motel never dies, it just moves. And now you are part of it. The desert dissolved. The motel reappeared. Neon lights buzzing. Vacancy sign glowing. The lobby clean and fresh, as though nothing had happened. Jason sat behind the front desk, his uniform crisp, his eyes hollow. The register bell dinged. A family walked in, smiling, laughing, looking for a place to spend the night. Jason's mouth moved on its own, whispering the words, "Welcome to Black Hollow Motel." The neon flickered dot vacancy.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.